I found the experience exhausting. It was very physically difficult for me to get around in a wheelchair. I have a great deal of respect for those that face that kind of a challenge.
One of the challenges our students face is they come in for extended time testing, quiet environment, and we're very lucky we have a couple of small rooms we can put them in. However, our students in wheelchairs have a hard time accessing those small private rooms. The hallways are so narrow, the wheelchairs can't get a good angle to turn.
There's a lot of elevators that make it accessible. Some of them aren't really necessarily wide, but I'm able to fit my chair in there.
Disability Services is on the 3rd floor of the University Center, which we love being in the University Center because we're centrally located on the campus, but being on the 3rd floor, obviously if the elevators are out, sometimes that makes it phenomenally difficult to provide services for our students. Some of the students have been stuck on this floor and have had to have assistance down to the lower floors, as well as sometimes they've been stuck down the plaza level and they obviously can't come up to take their tests, and we've had to provide service down there.
I've never had a problem with the elevators in the University Center or any other elevator on campus, luckily.
I would encourage faculty and staff to give those students an additional break on having to get around and get to classes and out of classes.
Pretty much with all the construction, that's really my only gripe about the accessibility.
We realize with the new student union, this is not going to be functional. This really is creating a huge barrier. But once it starts, you can't go back and change the plans without having significant cost involved.
Dealing with these big construction projects, I mean, anybody that's involved with them knows that there are literally thousands of things that you have to consider.
They were talking with some of the architects and they said, oh yeah, we're taking care of this, and what they meant was the interior of the building. What people were hearing in the administration was the whole project through every phase of it.
I had to find different routes to go from buildings that I normally was able to go through easier.
Like any state institution, sometimes even though you've got the funding, you've got the will, now you've got the actual process to get through. So it took a little longer than maybe we wanted, but eventually they did get the 2 ramps put in to access a little bit more easily from the main campus around construction over to Regents Hall and Albright Health Center.
Parking on campus, since they took out the parking lot in the University Center, right now there's not as many handicap parking spots that there used to be.
People probably should have, would have, could have, if they would have thought of it, if they thought those issues were going to be there.
Look at the war in Iraq, you know, maybe with a little better planning things would have gone different there too.
Initially there wasn't a real concern because it didn't seem like it was bothering too many people, but I think enough students spoke up and said this is a significant issue.
What's important is that when things come to your attention, that you move quickly at that point to resolve them. I think the university has done that, but I have to admit the construction has made it very difficult for our students in wheelchairs.
These buildings all do meet code because of the year they were built. So unless we do major renovations to a building, oftentimes they fall under a different time period of what accessible literally means for the law then.
Well, I still have the remnants of the blisters on my hands and actually some scarring on my knuckles.
I've put forward a recommendation that a committee take a look at this and develop a 5-year plan for how do we retrofit some of these older buildings.
Going through this exercise makes me even more interested in supporting those initiatives and helping out with making this university as wheelchair accessible and as customer friendly for our students with disabilities as we possibly can.
NKU wants to be welcoming to its students. We want to create an environment where they're independent.
I'm making do with what's going on right now.
I think the university needs to always be looking for ways to promote accommodations that make things easier for our students that have those types of physical challenges.
You make a mistake once, you hear some things, and by gosh, you're not going to let it happen again.